Welcome to my PowerPoint on Lash from Deadlock. So Lash is like an awesome character. He's really fun to play, he has a lot of movement, he has utility for his team with knockups and displacements. He does a good amount of damage for like the entire mid game and like the late laning phase. His early laning phase is abysmally terrible, one of the worst in the game, and his late game is abysmally terrible, one of the worst in the game. So why would anyone ever want to play Lash? Well, let's start by looking at some of his stats. So Tail of the Tape is his gun, and it fires a 3-round burst, each bullet dealing 8.1 damage, and its scale is not the greatest. So there's already that. I mean, what is there to say, right? His gun, it's fine, it's solid, it does an okay amount of damage. The fact that it's a 3-round burst definitely helps, especially if you're hitting headshots, because, well, burst weapons are just easier to fire and aim with. And that's kind of really all he gets from his gun. It's not a powerful gun, so you might be thinking, okay, well, does he have any, important stats or anything? Again, not really. He has, above average health and above average health gain per boon at 700 plus 50. He does start with 10 spirit resist. There's not many characters that do start with like base resist, so he is better into spirit characters in lane. But that's more like a compensation than anything else because he's really, really bad in lane. Now, again, we'd always talk about these stats. They aren't here on screen, but I'd rather move on to the abilities rather than harp on these because they're really not going to paint the whole picture of what kind of makes Lash not as good, even though he's really, really fun to play. So we start with Ground Strike. Ground Strike is kind of everything for Lash's entire kit. It's engage, it's damage, it's crowd control, it's the only way he can really like poke people in neutral. It can knock down enemies out of the sky like a Vindicta. It can it's like an AoE stun or knock up, like, and it's after your ult, which stuns. It's really everything for your kit, and that's part of the problem, right? It has a very, very long cooldown at base at 21 seconds. Yeah, a lot of characters have long cooldowns, especially level 1 for their abilities, but when it's your main ability that does everything in your kit, it being 21 seconds in the early game is very long. That being said, it does insane damage. Stomp the ground beneath you, dealing damage to enemies in front of you. If you perform Ground Strike while airborne, you quickly dive down to the ground, and the damage grows slower after 25 meters. So it does 60 damage times 0.791 spirit damage with an additional 5.5 times 0.0372 damage per meter while you are falling. It has about a 10 meter range. It's 21 second cooldown. So what you want to really do is either want to be like double jumping or getting up on high ground, whether through up like the ropes if you're on the left or the right lane, or you want to get up on the little box area on the mid lane that leads to the mid boss. You can use that to get some extra height to land a slam. But that's just it, right? It takes so much time and setup to be able to land this slam, and sometimes it doesn't even hit. Lash is a very buggy character where, because the game is built in Source, if you are on a staircase and Lash tries to slam on you, sometimes it just won't hit, depending if you're above or below him. This happens in TF2 with rockets on Soldier because of just how splash damage works through Source Engine. So Lash literally starts and plays the game bugged and worse than other characters. That doesn't mean he's not fun to play, though. Lash is incredibly, incredibly fun to play. If you've played Lash, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This ability, it's so fun to use because of the fact that, hey, yeah, it's not easy to use. It's clunky, but I don't care. It's so strong, especially because of its level 2 upgrade. Struck enemies are knocked up and slowed by 50% for 3 seconds. So the knockup on Lash's Ground Strike, you're not going to get it right away, of course, but the fact that you do get it at level 2 is so valuable. This is really where Lash starts to become like powerful, is you're getting like the rank 2 upgrade in both your Ground Strike and your Flog. That's typically about where Lash is at his strongest in the game, I find. Every other point in the game, he's not really as good or as valuable as other characters, but this is like his main high power point in the game. You want to be fighting on cooldown while you get this, while other characters are relatively weaker than you because you get this such a huge power-up. Your slam has already got its cooldown reduced from the first upgrade, reducing it by 10 seconds, so that's like incredibly valuable. And usually what I'm doing is once I get this upgrade, I'm never in lane. I'm permanently fighting, I'm trying to knock people up, I'm trying to get as many kills as I can to snowball because, well, Lash is kind of a really heavy snowball character. And that's, I mean, that's good. Don't get me wrong, those are really fun to play. But if you're playing in either low elo, where games, you know, last way too long for Lash to really do anything, because he really, really falls off in the late game, mainly due to items, his damage doesn't scale that well, he's not very tanky, and you know, etc., right? And, like, he's also so abusable in lane before, like, you know, level 4-ish, once you're getting the second upgrade of Flog, that, like, he's such a weird case of a character where he's not good early game, but he's so powerful mid game and then falls off again late game. Like, I mean, I've said this before, I came from playing League. There's not very many characters like that in League. Typically, a character is good at 2 stages of the game, early mid, mid-late, early late, right? They're not really only good mid-game. There are a few characters like that, like, say, Nasus, but, like, Nasus is like that because he just becomes a giant walking ball of stats that one-shots your team until, okay, he can't do that anymore, right? And you just melt him. Lash doesn't do that because he's one-shotting your team as a giant ball of stats that you can't kill. Lash does it because he has so much mobility, and he's able to keep fighting and keep staying on people and knock them up and deal a lot of damage to them, and support your team through, well, CC damage and, you know, setup. Which also leads to the final upgrade of Ground Strike. Damage per meter has a plus 110% damage, and it's improved scaling. It goes from like 0.037 to like 0.7 or 0.07 something. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's still a big increase in damage. Getting this upgrade it's vital. Don't get me wrong. Your damage spikes so much from getting this, especially if you are really high up, using something like Majestic Leap, getting up on a high building, using your grapple, etc. And that's like, if you've ever seen a Lash one-shot someone, it's because they got this upgrade, they're super far ahead of them in souls, and they slam down on the top ropes, and they just get exploded on. It's really, really funny ability to use, and I highly recommend people start playing Lash just so they can really use this ability and see what I'm talking about. See this powerful mid-game this character really brings to the table, and then you have to suffer through the early game to get there. I'm sorry, Lash is so much fun, but it's just really hilarious talking about him because he's such in a poor state right now. Grapple is a really interesting ability. It is your primary in-combat mobility tool. Yes, your ultimate and your ground strike can move you, but not in the same, not like how grapple's letting you move around. Pull yourself through the air towards a target. Using grapple also resets the limit of your air jumps and dashes. So a lot of the time what you'd be doing is you'll like double jump, bounce off a wall, grapple, double jump again into your slam to get a lot of damage out of it. And that's really valuable. Because Lash Grapple has charges, a lot of people like to build extra charge on it. I personally have not been a big fan of extra charge on Lash, like how long I've been playing him. I like to go for things like extra stamina and having more stamina bars to just be able to double jump around more often than going for more charges. Mainly because like the cooldown on this ability is just so long, and I don't have it listed here, but I think it's like 8 seconds between, or not 8 seconds, it's like 3 or 4 seconds between each grapple, and while that's fine, you're not really putting points in this ability in the early game. So each charge of the grapple is just going to take way longer than just having something like extra stamina, which is so much more valuable than just having one charge, especially because things like rapid recharge, the highest level upgrade of the charge, doesn't really matter on the Lash Grapple because you're not gaining anything out of it except charges. So it's really not that much value for your souls when you could just be doing a lot more with the souls that you're spending on that. That being said, it has a 42-second cooldown. Like I said, really long. The first upgrade does lower it by 19 seconds, so that's not nothing. It makes it go down to 23 seconds. Still incredibly long. It's still an incredibly long cooldown. Usually when I'm playing, I'll either use this after I've used my my stamina to jump around, or if I'm trying to like very quickly get out of the way of something because it launches you so high vertically. It's a good in-combat mobility tool, do not get me wrong, but getting around the map with it is impossible unless you have, you know, jungle camps or minions to do it off of. And even though it's still fine as a one-use thing, getting more charges on it doesn't really feel any better, and you know, upgrading the ability isn't that good either. Right? The tier 2 upgrade is plus 20 meter cast range and gain plus 6 weapon damage for 10 seconds. That doesn't matter. The tier 3 upgrade, plus 20% fire rate to weapon bonus buff. Again, doesn't really matter. The gun on Lash is pretty bad. It's not like you want to be using it all the time. You really kind of just want to be using it when you're running away to wait off your cooldowns, right? Lash is an ability rotation character, right? You go in, you blow your cooldowns, you say, haha, you just took half your health, I run away as fast as I can, then I go back in and I do the same thing and I try and like chase you down and kill you after not using my freaking grapple the first time because it's 42-second cooldown, right? You really don't want to be using grapple unless you have to because it's such a long cooldown. A lot of the reasons that Lash is so bad, bad air quotes, he's honestly fine in low elo. You can play him, there's no problem. Most people watching this are probably, you know, mid to low elo anyway. It's just they've nerfed him so many times since he came out, right? If you look at like Lash's patch history, he's just been nerfed like 3 times. He's been nerfed so many times. And I mean, I get it, right? People aren't a big fan of hypermobility characters that can go around the map and one-shot you. And I get it, right? I understand. So let's move on to Flog. Flog is a really interesting ability. It does solid damage and is really good follow-up to your slam, but the main thing is that, like, once you get the level 2 upgrade, which makes it, you know, lower its cooldown, it's just a really strong poke tool for basically just setting up, eventually going in to kill them, right? Let's look at it, right? Strike enemies in front of you with your whip, healing for a portion of the damage dealt. It does 60 damage with a 1.1 spirit scaling. It heals for 50% of the damage it deals versus heroes, and then it actually has an attack angle which scales with your spirit power. It starts at 30 degrees times 0.427 spirit power. So if you get enough spirit power, actually it just becomes a bigger hitbox, so it's a lot easier to hit. It has a 20-meter range. It only heals for 16% versus non-heroes and has 26-second cooldown. At base, it's not the greatest, right? Even at, like, you know, your second level when you're getting your first ability point, it applies to 35% slow, which isn't... It's really not that big of a deal, I have to be honest with you. Especially in the early game, the slow doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, you can pepper them with a few more Lash freaking gun bullets, but it's not the main thing, right? The main draw of this is once you get its level 2 upgrade, the minus 14-second cooldown. So it goes from a 26-second cooldown ability to a 12-second cooldown ability. Usually what I'm doing is once I get this upgrade, I instantly, like, double dash, slide into my opponent, I whip them, and I run away. And then when it comes up, I run at them, I whip them, and I run away. They shoot at me a little bit, I whip them, and I run away. That's all you do with this ability in lane. You whip them, and you run away. Because not only does it have, you know, a pretty large range, it does good, solid damage, and it heals you. So if you're just taking very short trades with it, you're always going to come out on top because the damage and healing from Flog is more than, like, most characters' abilities or just guns will deal in the short amount of time that you're going up, hitting them, and running away. You get what I mean? And then, of course, the rank 3 upgrade is plus 95 damage and applies a 35% fire rate debuff. So a lot of people have, like, when you're playing Lash, you can either go for the rank 3 upgrade on your ground slam to be more useful in a team fight, to do more damage, to be, you know, better at taking 1v1s, or you can take Flog to be safer, to be able to play further back. You deal a lot more damage. Plus 95 is well over doubling the damage of Flog, and the minus fire rate buff is really good if you're fighting against a lot of, like, gun characters, and you just want to, and you're already not, like, that strong. You're probably lost lane because you're Lash. So you take, you know, the rank 3 upgrade on Flog, you just go up, you whip them, you whip them, you whip them, you get them low, you're healing a lot more because you do so much damage, you're gonna take a lot less return damage because the fire rate debuff, so you just keep whipping them, you keep whipping them, you keep whipping them, and then, you know, you're basically just annoying people, right? It's more utility in the sense that it helps your team rather than being more damage, but I mean, if you're just doing more damage, sometimes that is better than, you know, a fight, like from the slam, right? If you're, like, very far ahead and you're getting that slam, you're getting it earlier, or you take that out rather than Flog, you can definitely snowball a lot harder with it. But Flog is definitely the much safer upgrade to take the level 3 up, right? You're not always going to be getting such a super high up in the air slam to get the value of the rank 3 on ground strike. So if you're in a game where, like, hey, you're not really able to slam these characters playing, it's Pocket, you're playing, it's Vindicta, you're never going to be able to slam those characters, right? Vindicta will fly away from you, not let you get in range unless you're somehow on top of her to pull her down with the thing, which you can do, I've done it before. Pocket will always dodge your slam with his briefcase, etc., right? Characters with mobility. Then Flog upgrade gets a lot more value because, like, okay, well, you dodge my slam, now I just whip you and I run away. That's kind of like the Lash gameplay, is you play like an asshole. It's almost like that's his entire idea. You go in, you blow your load, you run away, and the enemy is just sitting there like, ah, dude, I just took half my health and this guy just ran away from me. What do I do? Right? You don't ever want to take extended fights on this character, even though you might think, hey, I already did so much damage to them. Well, then you have no cooldowns. That's the main thing about Lash. He goes in, he does what he wants, he leaves, the enemy is sitting high and dry, and then he comes back in, 20 seconds later and kills him. Really, really fun character to play. I gotta be honest with you. Oops. And then last, but very certainly not least, we have Death Slam. Death Slam is Lash's entire late game. His damage doesn't scale that as well as many other characters. He gets kind of hard countered by a lot of like anti-nuker items. Nuker, if you play Dota or if you played League, it's like burst characters. Characters that try to do a lot of burst damage all at once. Lash is obviously one of those. Get really hard countered by like items like a Spellbreaker, or if you get like Spirit Shielding, Lash can't really do anything to you. So in the late game, Lash is just like, he's a glorified Death Slam bot. Like, yeah, he has the knockup on his ground strike, but like, you're mainly just there to press Death Slam, throw people out of position, and mog on them. I don't even know, bro. You're Lash, you can do whatever you want. So you focus on enemies to connect whips to them. After channeling, connected enemies are lifted and stunned, then slammed into the ground. Your victims and any enemies in the landing zone will be damaged and slowed. You press the fire button to throw connected enemies early. Enemies that are not in line of sight or get out of the range during the launch line will not be grabbed. Very simple ability. It does 105 damage with a 0.975 spirit power scaling, and it has a 12 meter times 0.305 max throw distance. I forgot to put the M, I'm sorry. It has a 2.3 channel duration to do it in the first place, and then it has a 20 meter range with 155 second cooldown. And then it applies, 50% slow. Okay. So Death Slam is a really strong ability for the fact that not only, if you do hit it, the enemy team basically goes wherever you want them to go. If you don't hit it, the enemy team has to wait it out and also puts themselves in a bad spot, right? It's not like... How do I word this? Of course you want to hit Death Slam. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but the threat of Death Slam is almost greater than the actual Death Slam itself, if you get what I mean. The threat of Lash going in on your team and Death Slamming even one person into the team to get a pick on them is very scary. You have to play around it and play forward. Play like an asshole. I get it, right? I get the joke is, yeah, Jacob Lash is not. If you play like an asshole, he literally does better than if you just play passively or if you don't play hyper aggressive, right? It doesn't matter how many times you die in a game as Lash, as long as you kill the enemy. Think of it that way. Lash is an engage character. He might not be the best primary engage, but he's definitely a very good secondary engage. If you have like a Paradox, if you have a Bebop, if you have a Billy, if you have an Abrams, if you have any character that wants to go in first, Lash is eating it up. And guess what? You don't even need that character. Lash can do it himself. It's just he likes to, synergize with those characters obviously very well. The first upgrade gives plus 8 meters of max throw distance. This is really useful, especially because there's a tech on Lash ult where if you like, after you ult, you flick up and you look as far away as possible, you can throw them super far away. It's really, like, you can start throwing people really far come late game with Death Slam. So getting that plus 8 extra meters is like super high value to get people, out of their team, to throw them into your team. It's a super cool ability, and like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm gushing over Lash. He's really fun. He's one of my favorite characters I played in a long time across a lot of video games. So, I know. The rank 2 upgrade, minus 25 second cooldown. Very standard. It lowers it to 130 second, which is, not bad. And then the rank 5 upgrade stuns enemies in landing zone for 1 second. So, yes, you can hit enemies without the stun with your ground strike, and it really doesn't matter. But come late game, when you have people that have, either spirit power, scaled movement speed, like a 7 or a Viper, or have, there's the one item that's like when you get CC'd, you get extra stamina. You can have that to escape the Lash ult. Sometimes you're able to get the Lash ult, or you're able to get out of the slam from Lash ult. Not once you get the rank 5 upgrade of this. It becomes such a powerful teamfight ultimate once you get rank 5 of it, that it basically, like, warps his entire kit, right? Like, before you get the rank 5 of Death Slam, yeah, getting hit by it sucks. It's still powerful, don't get me wrong. But if you do get the 5 ability points, the rank 3, it's like actually crazy. Like, your teamfight utility goes up by an insane amount. And that's like the whole thing about Lash, right? is his best upgrades are all of his rank 5 upgrades, but he's not a character who's strong at the point in the game where he has all rank 5 upgrades, or 3 rank 5 upgrades. So sometimes you kind of do have to choose. Like I've had games where I'm not doing very well. I won't take rank 5 on Ground Striker or Flog, and I'll take it on Death Slam. It's not often, right? It's only when I'm like super far behind. I'll take it because, well, I'm just an ult bot by that point. Ult knockout bot. But I've definitely done it, and it is very, very fun to do so. I was actually considering a build recently where I went like, Divine Kevlar, and I went like full cooldown or whatever, and like I just went like full in and just went all in on Death Slam, get it like right away, rank 5 right away, and see if I can do anything with it. I think that I might do that literally after this video goes up as my next Lash game, but who knows. And then, very certainly, not least, we're going to talk about some items. Well, one of the best Lash players, and someone who I watch a lot, someone who's basically I've learned Lash from, is Deathy. So, of course, I'm going to, plug his build. It's really standard, right? Lash is very weak in lanes. You're basically just building items that either are very powerful on their own to help compensate your lane, like Mystic Burst, Mystic Shot, Headshot Booster, etc. Or you're building items that, like, well, scale very well, or help your win condition. Your win condition being, I'm above the enemy, I'm able to press ult on them, they can't really do anything to stop it, right? Majestic Leap is really good for that, Arctic Blast is really good for that, Cold Front, upgrades in Arctic Blast, Divine Kevlar is really good into that, and Majestic Leap on Lash is such a good item. You don't actually ever want to engage with Grapple once you get Majestic Leap, because not only does Majestic Leap give you a barrier, it means that you have Grapple in the middle of combat to still be able to, get around and do some stuff. Who could have guessed? If you only have one mobility tool on your character, typically you want to save that thing to not die. So being able to use Majestic Leap, it's only 3,200. It gives you a big barrier, or well, not big barrier. It gives you a barrier, and the fact that it launches you so high, gives you so much mobility around the map. It's just such a valuable item on Lash because the number one thing Lash wants to do is run around the map and kill people until your team is stronger than their team, and it doesn't matter that Lash fell off because you have 20, 30,000 soul lead on them because you've just been killing them mid-game. So having an item like Majestic Leap is really strong. It's really, really strong. It like Lash before and after Majestic Leap is practically two different characters. Before Majestic Leap, you are incredibly tied to being able to, find high ground, tied to not really being able to traverse between lanes all that well because your only mobility tool requires an enemy to, actually target. And then once you get Majestic Leap, you don't have to use Grapple to go in, you don't have to be on high ground at all times to be able to make yourself threatening, and you're able to travel between lanes incredibly quickly. This item is really strong on a lot of characters for that exact reason, right? Pocket loves Majestic Leap as well for basically the same reason. And honestly, I don't know, it's just a cool item. It really just is a cool item. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. What do you guys think about Lash? I think he's really, really, really fun to play, even if he's not very good, right? He's not the greatest at, he's kind of better at mid elos, if you get what I mean, because people aren't good enough to counter him, but they're not going into 40-minute games where you can't really do anything. And I'm, I'm like Arcanist 5 or whatever right now. I'm climbing, right? Whatever the green one is, right? I'm climbing. I'm playing as, better and better players the more I play, right? I only have 100 hours in the game so far. I'm not the greatest player of all time, but Lash still is so fun. He's definitely I think he's literally my second most played character at the time I'm recording this. He's so much fun. And I don't care if he's bad. He's the Lash. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.